Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to this little installment of self-sustainability. So let me paint a picture for you. Okay, you live in a different place. You live in a beautiful place on a farm, surrounded by 150, 200, 300, 400, 500 people, people that you know, people that you like, people who are similar to you, people who have similar visions to you. Okay, and within this space, you have freedom, you have choice. You don't have to wear a mask. There is no mandate for anything. Your body is your body. You have your own rights. Within the community, you're growing your own food, you're harvesting your own vegetables, you're tending to your own animals. Within the system, there is a school, and the school is different to other schools. It has learning areas as opposed to classrooms where there are facilitators and not teachers. The children are all busy with hands-on projects, and these projects all are involved around developing the self-sustained community. So in other words, their projects are, they're learning about biology and anatomy and physiology through assisting other people, through working on other, working with other professionals that are in their careers. You're working with builders to build houses and to create plumbing systems and to create irrigation systems. You're working with plants to understand the medicinal value of certain plants and all of the compounds and how do you use different types of soil. And in so doing, you're learning about the sciences and you're learning about the maths. And so what happens is these children then are part of their projects at a school are actually then to grow the community, to be contributions, to improve what already exists. So the kids essentially they have a very hands-on style of learning and is much more practical. And if you remember anything from school, this is how you learned. You learned the things that I know that I remember the most from school were the projects that I did, not the information that I learned. A lot of that stuff is rubbish. But I remember the things that I built because most of us remember the stuff that we enjoyed doing. We learn from creativity, and this is the learning through play is the most, has been proven to be the best way to actually learn, is actually been the best way to learn. So this is just painting a picture of what a self-sustained community could be. And we're going to unpack over the course of a few different episodes, okay? And I'm not going to record them all in one go because there's too much to say about them. But I truly believe that, if you look at the world, it's burning. A little delve into what's really going on. And I'm not a person who looks at the world through a keyhole. I like to open up. And a lot of people at the moment are looking at the world through a keyhole. And I believe that those people who are more aware, those people who are more conscious, those people who have a field of vision that is peripheral, that they can see everything that is going on and they don't have a limited point of view about what's going on, can really see what is coming. And if all you've got to do is just tap into the future and go, well, where are we going to be at in 5 years' time if we carry on down this path with the giving away of our rights and all of the different mandates and now giving up our bodies, to science experiments, et cetera, et cetera. And it doesn't matter what your points of view are about vaccination versus non-vaccination. It has nothing to do with that. The fact is there is a very big agenda at play and there is a tremendous amount of manipulation, and we are slowly but surely losing our rights and slowly but surely giving them up. And the idea of a self-sustained community brings it all back. And the truth of it is that if you look at what's going on right now, it's a system that is designed to crumble and fall apart. Let's be honest, democracy is a lie, okay? It is an absolute lie. There is so much corruption, there is so much greed, there is so much manipulation, and the fish rots from the head down. And unfortunately, it is being exposed everywhere. And the beauty of what is going on, the beauty of COVID, the beauty of this entire situation that we're in is that we are being driven to make different choices, because if we don't, we're going to be pushed off the edge of a precipice where we are basically going to be landing up like we're going to land up without any rights. Who knows what the end game is going to be if we don't start choosing something different. But I do know that this system is designed to fail. It cannot continue on the path that it is. Economically, it can't. Politically, it can't. The education system, everything just needs to be overhauled. And to be honest, if we just start from scratch and rebuild from ground zero, we'll find ourselves, we would really start to ask ourselves, like, what would we choose? And for me, when I look at the system of self-sustained community and I look at, how we could be in small little communities, self-governed, in communication with all the other self-sustained communities, okay, creating a spine whereby there is no one leader. There are just communities that are in conversation with each other, that protect each other, that can help each other, that can trade goods, that can barter, where there is not necessarily an exchange of money, but it's more an exchange of services or products or ideas. We're sharing, we're collaborating. And the idea is to collaborate to create a spine of self-sustained communities that run throughout the country to take the pressure off the grid, so that when the system falls, because it will fall, there is no doubt in my mind that this is going to fall, that there is a separate system that is there, at least there to support. Okay, so the beauty of these self-sustained communities is if they're done right, then what happens is the self-sustained community, because money is kept inside, there will be an abundance of produce, there will be an abundance of time, there'll be an abundance of energy, that the money that is created, okay, through the self-sustained community can then be used to upgrade the surrounding communities, and in so doing start create self-sustaining communities that are outlying around that. And then that can involve that, and the children that are coming to the schools that will be bringing in from other areas then start to help and assist these other areas in growing. So what happens is then the self-sustained community moves from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, and eventually that becomes the norm. And that takes the pressure off the grid, because on the current path that we're on, there is no end game except failure. There is no end game except war. There is no end game except starvation, deficiencies in food, more and more corruption. It is inevitable. Okay. And I knew about this from years and years and years ago. And this is one of the reasons I have been researching education systems to change the current modality. I have been researching self-sustained communities for a very long time. I've been pushing this from where I used to live, to now coming up. And I'm very, very grateful. Strangely enough, I'm very, very grateful for COVID and this current situation, because as terrible as it is on the outside, it is pushing people to create change, not looking upward and going, you need to create the change. If you haven't realized by now that the government is not coming to help you, you're a fucking idiot. Okay. And I'm sorry to say it, but you need to wake up. Okay. Nothing that is being done by anybody who's in power right now is for the greater good of you or for the community or anybody else. You think the pharmaceutical companies are there to help you? They're not. You think the medical associations are there to help you? They're not. You think the banking system gives a fuck? They don't. You think the government cares? They don't. If you think any of those people, you think any of these government organizations, you think anybody that is in a corporation that cares about only the bottom line, about what is in it for me, cares about you as an individual, about your family, you are cooked in the head. And so the thing of it is, guys, like I see a lot of people writing letters to the president. I mean, that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Like, you think Cyril Ramaphosa is going to pick up your letter and go, oh, wow, Flippy McFuckface thinks, oh, I must change. Okay, cool, I'll change. That's never going to happen. Don't be daft. Letters to the president do nothing. Looking at the current system and criticizing it doesn't help either. We know that it's broken. It's a system of corruption. It is a system that doesn't work. It's too big. It's too open to corruption. So the truth of it is that smaller communities have always been the way. In studies that have been done through generations of different psychologists, of different people who understand human behavior, it has always come down to just small numbers of people are where our limit seems to be for being able to manage ourselves without conflict. Okay, but as soon as we go over a certain number, then people start to look up and go, well, we need to be governed. Okay, so smaller communities are obviously a solution to that. Smaller communities that then are in discussion with each other, that can create their own way of being. And if there's anything, I mean, you might think to yourself, well, we need police. Well, do we? I mean, if the looting in KZN has proven anything to us, it is that we had to protect the police. We had to protect our own communities. So what's the difference? You know what I'm saying? If we go off the grid and you move into a self-sustained community, you've got 200 people there, all armed, all know how to defend themselves. You put up security around it. Who the fuck's going to come in there? I would welcome, if I was in a self-sustained community with 200 people and I personally set up traps, booby traps, all different types of security, anybody that walks in there is going to be dead within the first meter of stepping onto the property. So yeah, security, from a security point of view, you know what I mean? It's much safer. And for farmers that are out there who might be listening to this, or any of you that know farmers, whose biggest threat to their survival, okay, is a threat of a farm attack, because it's a very common thing to be happening. And it's obvious because they're targets. You know what I'm saying? You're driving around and you're going, let's see, I can either go into a high density population area where the oak's got 15 neighbors and any one of them could jump over, hear what's going on, pull out a gun and shoot me dead, or the cops can come, or I can drive to a remote place where there's one farmhouse and I know that it's just some old buddy and his wife who's there. You know what I'm saying? All I got to do is sneak in with 3 or 4 of us and we can take it. Try that in a self-sustained community and see what happens. See what kind of pushback you're going to get. And particularly if the community is geared and understands that safety is part of it. So they do some training. They learn jiu-jitsu, you know what I'm saying? They learn how to handle weapons. And it's not for the sake of necessarily wanting violence, but it's about being aware that there's a possible threat. And when it happens, we're able to defend ourselves. If people around their community know that that's going on, they're not going to do anything. And on top of that, if you are supporting the community that's around you, You're not going to get that coming in. Even if somebody does hop over and try to steal something, the communities that are around who are supported and are getting love and attention and affection, and where there is good being pushed to those people that are around them, are going to protect you because they know the value that you give to them. So in so doing, you add value. And I know this, I've seen this in areas. My business partner has a farm and he's very kind to the people that are around him. He's never had any trouble on his farm whatsoever. And this is just human behavior. This is just human nature. You know, we need to create change in this country. There is a big division between those that have and those that don't. You know, and it's the way to level it out. And there's a lot of different ways, but it's not about being charitable. It is about offering to those that want to come to the party the opportunity to learn a different way, to learn how to grow, to learn how to create a self-sustained community. In so doing, then you start to create a generational change of thinking. But it has to be done in a certain way whereby kids that have need to be embracing and teaching those kids that don't. Kids become the teachers. Kids are the facilitators. Kids are the ones that actually are better teachers to each other than what a teacher is to the children. Children are going to duplicate. So if you have a school system whereby you're bringing these kids in from the outside, and each child adopts a child from a surrounding community, they get the choice of going out and finding a kid that they think has the ability to step up, has the intelligence, has the awareness, has the desire and the ambition to want to come to a school where they're going to learn about first world methods, first world techniques, and is going to have the ambition and the desire and the drive to learn, then they can bring them up to speed. You can take any child that actually has some desire and apprentice them with another child. You know how good it's going to be for the child that's teaching? The personal responsibility. I am giving back. Yes, I'm privileged, but I'm also privileged to be able to teach somebody else. You know what it's going to do for that child who's looking up and going, where is the help going to come from? You know what I'm saying? I need some assistance here. I want to work. I want to do something, but I need some assistance. So for somebody to go out and actually connect with them and bring them into that community so that we start to grow. And in so doing, we start to create change. Whatever the fuck is going on in this world right now is not working. The education system doesn't work. Okay. Whatever this model is that we're using, okay, the outcomes are embarrassing. 2/3 of kids drop out of university. The kids that do go don't even work in the field that they work. You know what I mean? You've got massive dropouts of kids before they even get to high school level. You've got massive amounts of unemployment and rising amounts, rising crime, rising depression. It's obvious that whatever comes before them leaving school is the problem, right? I mean, it has to be. You know what I'm saying? Like if I keep getting sick and I keep going to the doctor and I'm vomiting every single time I go, he's going to go, what did you do before this? What do you think you did to create this? And that's such a simple answer. It's such a simple question. Because obviously, if there's something that's fucking out in the ages of 20 to 30, we have to look at what precluded that. What happened before that? And that's what we need to change. And we can change that with self-sustained communities. Guys, there is not one thing that is out there that cannot be improved by moving into self-sustained communities. We're very aware of corruption. We're very aware that the government is fucking us at every single opportunity they can. But here's how we change it. We go into self-sustained communities, we withhold the money circulates in the communities, and fuck them. Because doing that will take away their money, it will take away their power. And it'll slowly start to disintegrate. The system needs to collapse. It needs to disintegrate. It has to disappear so that we can create a new system. But we can't wait for it to happen. And if you don't think it's going to happen, you're not paying attention. Look at Zimbabwe. Look at every other African country. It has failed because the people haven't mobilized the people that knew it was coming. If you could see it coming, you know, and fair enough, those countries didn't have the access to history that we do. We know what's coming. We know that the leaders are corrupt. The 500 billion that they've just scalped, where is it? It's gone. And who's going to pay for that? More taxes on the middle class, more taxes. You know what? Move into self-sustained communities. What are they going to tax? You move into a self-sustained community, you buy a piece of land, you build all your houses on stilts. You don't have to declare that those houses are houses. They're not permanent structures. They're temporary structures. No increase in rates and taxes. Take your money, circulate it in your community, use it for the good of those people that are around you. You don't, instead of paying tax, use that money to employ, to improve the surrounding communities. Imagine thousands of these self-sustained communities with 200 people in them all around the country. all helping and supporting the communities that are around them. You can take your own money and you can do with it what you want. You can build a road if you want. You can pop up a borehole. You can give solar power to the people in the surrounding communities. You can help teach them how to harvest water. You can build infiltration systems. You can teach them all of these things so that they can do it themselves, so that they become empowered. As the Bible says, if you teach a man to fish, if you give a man a fish, he eats for a day. Teach a man how to fish, and he eats for a lifetime. This is what I'm talking about. We have to be able to duplicate this, and we can duplicate this by creating these self-sustained communities. And this doesn't mean, though, that you have to live like some hippie. It's not about living like a hippie. It's not about growing your hair long and walking around barefoot and being a stoner. You can still have one foot in the real world and one foot in the community. You do your part for the community. You go out and you do your 4 hours of community service, whether it's cooking or cleaning or building or, tending the land or security or farming, whatever it is, whatever you want to do, teaching, whatever your community service is. And then on top of that, then you can go and run your business. You can still create some money on the outside, pull in some money because that money can come in. You know what I'm saying? And you can grow the community. You can use that money for good. If you're in a place where you don't have to pay rent, where you're not paying taxes, where you're not paying for food, all the money you make can be circulated back in. And if you find a community that thinks like I do, you know what I'm saying, that is thinking about progression, that is thinking about changing the world, this is the start of it. Even if you just move into a self-sustained community and you don't give a fuck about the people that are around you, you're still lessening your carbon footprint. You're still taking pressure off the grid. You're still living the life that you want to live. Go and do it. Not every community is going to be the same. Not all of them are going to be as generous as what I envisage myself being. But it's a start, and it takes the pressure off the grid, and you're going to have freedom. And isn't that what you desire? Look at the world around you. You know what I'm saying? All of our freedoms have been taken away. You can't go anywhere without a mask. You can't have social events. You can't visit people. Every time there's a lockdown, you get fucking locked, you get shut down. You can't have a point of view about anything because you get shut down. There's so much disinformation and misinformation. It's hard to even believe what there is. Go into self-sustained community. Just circulate within yourselves. Live your little life. You know what I'm saying? And to be honest, the world is going to burn. It is going to get to a point where the polarization that is happening between people, the misinformation is creating a spread. It's creating a division. And it's eventually going to get to the point where families are going to be split on certain issues. People are not going to talk to each other. You know what I mean? And we are going to come to blows, and it's not what needs to happen. Instead of being competitive, instead of being tribalistic, we can't be this way. We've actually got to move into smaller communities and just get away with it. Get away from the tribalism. In smaller communities, the tribalism doesn't exist. There isn't an us versus them. It's just those people collaborating to create a better life in communication with other organizations. And you might think to yourself, well, if I go into that, I'm going to be limited. How? If there are other self-sustained communities spread all around the country, you can probably move from one to another quite easily and go and be a contribution. If you think you're a builder and you enjoy doing the building and you go and you help set up a self-sustained community, then you go, I'm kind of tired of this. Let me find another self-sustained community. And you can move around and pop around. It's going to grow and grow and grow. These self-sustained communities are going to become the way of the future. Every person I know, that has any degree of awareness, who's tapped into the future, who can feel what is coming, who knows in their gut that the shift is going to hit the fan, that life is going to change, is aware of the possibility of moving into these self-sustained communities. But we're in the very early stages of it. I'm seeing very, very few people actually starting to actually look at buying pieces of land and start to explore this concept. And soon it will start. You're going to hear of 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 10 communities starting, and eventually is going to get to the point where there's going to be a mass adoption as people flood into these self-sustained communities, because they realize that it is a better life. It is a life where you have more freedoms. It is a life where you have more choices. It is a life where you do not have to comply with anything that is happening on the outside world. You get to govern yourself and be free. Don't you want to be free? Don't you want to have a life again? Don't you want to be able to spend time with your kids and your family? You know what I'm saying? Aren't you tired of the fighting and the bickering and the arguing and the discussions about cuck? And it all changes. We bring the country to its knees. We create the change by moving into the self-sustained communities. Everything starts to change the moment we do this. So to me, it just seems like the most elegant solution. And I don't know why anybody wouldn't choose it. But I think there's a fear. I think people have a fear because it's the unknown. It's, well, what am I going to do? You know, you can do whatever you want to do. You're going to be in a self-sustained community. All you got to do is make sure you plant some veggies, you know, look after them. It's very easy to grow. It's very easy to look after chickens. You can have wild animals on the farm if you want to. You can grow your own things. It's really, it's really not as difficult as you think. It's far easier than being in a city, hustling and bustling, fighting through traffic, wearing a mask all the time, having to deal with political bullshit, having to deal with taxis, having to deal with riots, having to deal with all this cuck. You move into a self-sustained community where you're governing yourself, where you are at nobody's beck and call. You get to choose what you want. Oh, freedom. And this is the thing that we're missing. This is the thing that's making us depressed. This is the thing that's making us angry. This is the thing that's making us argue with each other on social media. And it doesn't have to be this way. You know, the thing of it is we can't focus on the problems anymore. It doesn't work. We can't. There's obviously a disparity between those people who want to get vaccinated and those who don't want to get vaccinated. And that's okay, whatever. But let's stop fighting with each other. We're not the enemy here. We're not the enemy. And neither is the virus. The virus isn't the enemy. It's a lack of fucking brains from the top that is the enemy. You look at all of if you look at the things that have been implemented or not implemented, it's embarrassing. I cannot believe, as an intelligent person, as a creative person, that what has been implemented is the only thing that has been implemented. I could think of at least 50 different ways, 50 different paths that we could have chosen, 50 different experiments that we could have done to find a better way, but that's not being done because we don't have the choice. We don't have the ear of those people in power, and those people in power are fucking idiots, corrupt, monstrous psychopaths. I do not want to support, I do not want to be part of it. I'm going to move away into self-sustained community where I can govern myself and where I have freedom of my own choices. And the only people that I have to consult with are those people that are in the community who are going to be like-minded, who are going to be similar to me. And if they're not, I can find another self-sustained community, whatever. But this is what changes the world, is looking for something different. And I truly believe that if you're tapped into consciousness, if you're aware of what is going to happen in the future, I believe that this is what was required. I was thinking about this a long time ago. Self-sustained communities, education centers, teaching entrepreneurship, teaching farming, teaching bartering, because I knew that at some point, the world was going to get worse and worse and worse. You can see it. You can see the disintegration of everything, of cultures, of critical thinking, of just the effect that social media has, the anger that's built up. COVID just accelerated things. All it's done is make us go, all it's done is make the timeline just zip. And now we're at the point, we're at the precipice here. It's only a matter of time before the financial bubble blows up in the States. Countries are borrowing massive amounts of money to support this fucked up narrative that they have about the way to handle COVID. And they're just shutting it down. When Australia runs out of money, they are going to be fucked. That country is going to go from first world to third world. The UK is going to run out of money. All the European countries are going to run out of money. At some point, they have to start paying back that money. How are they? They can't open up the economy. No, vaccines are not working to stop the spread. There's a lot of distrust in it. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter what your point of view about it is. This is what is happening. The virus is still spreading. People are not going to take the vaccine. And a majority of people are not going to take the vaccine. Okay. And so what's going to happen is eventually you can't keep forking out money from some, like kitty that's just endless. At some point, the money's going to run out. And then what? Who owns the debt? Who's going to come and reclaim that debt? Economies are going to crumble left, right, and center. First world countries are going to become third world countries. Truly, honestly, like if I'm looking at it and I look at what's going on, I think Africa might be the best place to be at this stage. The way we've handled COVID, I mean, it's the way we've handled COVID might be embarrassing to some of the first world countries, but for fuck's sakes, we've got a lot more freedoms. There's a lot less mandated shit. You know what I'm saying? They're getting away with a lot less, But the thing of it is like we have a choice here. We have a choice. You have a choice right now to create something different to what is currently being created. If you carry on along this path, working the same job, giving away your rights, giving away your freedoms, okay, and expecting something to change, you're a moron. I'm sorry, but there is no change here without you as an individual taking the initiative, taking personal responsibility and choosing something different. And we can't take this current system and make it better. The idea that Herman Mashaba is going to come along, he's going to be the savior of the country. You must have fucking rocks in your head. The system is broken. Every country thinks that the next leader is going to be the one that saves them. Look at America. They think Biden's the one. Biden was going to be the savior. They are screwed. They're in an even worse position because you can't place your hopes on it. If the system is not working, it's not working. You can't take it. You can't take this current system and make it better because the whole thing is corrupt. The whole thing is broken. So what do you need? You need a different system. Make the old one obsolete. Start from scratch. What would create the most? And for me, the solution, take any problem that exists out there in the world, climate change, politics, COVID, any of these things, take any of these situations and ask yourself, how does it get better? And there's one elegant solution for all of them. It's called the self-sustained community. So get your freaking head in the game, okay, and start looking, start speaking to your friends who are farmers, start getting friends together who can create, who you can pull money together with. Start researching these things, start getting an understanding, you know what I'm saying, and start fucking getting out there because we need to create a different system. Because if you're not in one of those self-sustained communities, when the shit hits the fan, and it's coming soon, when the shit hits the fan and you're not, you are going to be fucked. Okay, believe me, you are. All right, so look into it, start researching, start doing some homework, find something that works for you, find a group of people that you want to be involved with, people that can contribute. You're going to need builders, you're going to need an engineer, you're probably going to need, you might need a plumber, and you might need farmers, and you need healers and doctors and teachers. You're going to need a complement of people that are going to be able to be contributions to the self-sustained community. And understand something, guys, this is not about living like hippies. It's not about living like scrubs. You can live a very, very elegant lifestyle off the grid, solar powered, clean water, harvesting everything, growing your own food and vegetables. You know what I'm saying? But living out in nature and living a quiet life, peaceful life with freedoms, without a mask, without having to worry about nothing. That if the whole world fucking disintegrates and burns around you and collapses to the ground, you're still okay. And that for me gives me a tremendous amount of freedom to think about that, as a concept, to believe that that possibility exists. And it does exist, and you just have to create it. And it's not a difficult thing to create. It's really not. Get 10 friends, each of you. Like if you own a house, sell your house. Think about how much money you can put in. Let's say you got 50 people. Right? Each of them put in 200,000 Rand. That's 10 million Rand. You can buy a sweet piece of land, all right, and get it started and build small homes for 100,000, 200,000 Rand each, and you will be rocking. You'll be rocking. You don't even have to. You can start with one small home and build from there. And like I said, build the school first. Get the kids to build the houses. There's a way of doing it. All right. There is definitely a way of doing it. Okay. There are so many possibilities that exist in and around this. I can't think of a more elegant solution. Like I said, when I think about the education system, there's better. When I think about the political system, politics is done. We're done. We have no need of politicians. We have no need. Democracy is a fucking lie. It has always been a lie. Socialism, communism, it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. The only thing that's going to work is for us to go into smaller communities where we don't have governance, where there's no hierarchy, because it's the hierarchy which creates the power. It's the hierarchy which creates the opportunity for manipulation. It's the opportunity then becomes available for corruption. In small communities, maybe you have leaders, but they're micro leaders. They're just people that manage, certain different aspects of the community because they're better at it. There is just going to be people that are naturally able to lead, and that's fine. But it's not this massive leader who's got power over everything, I'm saying, who you don't have access to. For fuck's sakes, how can you not have access to your leaders? You know what I mean? That makes no sense. How does that person understand what's going on with you? You think Cyril Ramaphosa and his bunch of fucking ANC cohorts have any idea of what it is to be on the ground right now, to be on the front line working, to be in a school as a teacher? Not a fuck. And we change everything. Guys, listen, the China situation, people are worried about China taking over, etc. China can't take over shit if we move into self-sustained communities. Because why? Because we have no need of them. We take away all of that. Listen, China goes down to the ground once we stop being, what's it called? Fuck, man. when we stop needing so much stuff from them, what's it called? The truth of it is that we require so many things. We think that buying things is going to make us happy, but it's consumerism. Consumerism. The moment we stop being consumers, right? Who funds China? China's whole economy starts to disintegrate, and then they are forced into a similar situation to what we are, where they're going, well, what is the alternative? Guys, it starts with 1, and then 2, and then 5, and then 10. And as it multiplies and grows, it will start to become the standard for the norm. There's a tipping point for consciousness. There's a tipping point of awareness for what else is possible. If everybody in the world today said, fuck that, self-sustained communities, we would bring every government in the world would come down. There would be no such thing as these borders and this bullshit. It would just all open up. And the world would be freer, the world would be better. We'd be able to govern ourselves through these small self-sustained communities. Nobody would be able to come in and take shit because we have no need of anything. The only reason China has money is because we keep buying things. We keep having this need for crap that we don't need. But if we go into these self-sustained communities and you live off the land, okay, and you live a frugal life, but an elegant life at the same time where you're making all of your own things and there's no need to buy things from them, you can live an amazing life. And in so doing, you start to squash these corporations, these massive corporations that have got so much power. You start to squash the pharmaceutical companies. You start to squash all of these massive places that have so much money and as a result, so much power because we've given it to them. You can't blame China for what they are. We funded that. Every single purchase that you make for something that is bought in, that is made in China is you funding that whole regime. And how do you boycott it? Just go into self-sustained communities. Boom. No need of anything else from the outside world. And it doesn't mean we won't have a footprint. It doesn't mean there's not still going to be some commercial activity. Of course there is. There are going to be people that want to stay in cities and want to keep it going, and that's fine. But at least there's pressure off the grid. Less pollution. Less need of food. Less need of anything else. Less hands-out entitlement. Just now responsible for myself, responsible for my little community. My contribution to the world, to the planet, to the earth, reconnecting with the earth. This is what is happening. Like if you actually take an altruistic look at everything that is happening in the world, you start to realize everything is for our greater good. This whole COVID thing, everything is steering us and pushing us in a different direction. But the thing of it is that the people that are going to make the changes are the people who are looking at going, well, I personally have to be responsible for what is happening. If I don't take personal responsibility, who is? You think the government's going to help you? You think corporations are going to help you? You think the pharmaceutical companies are going to help you? You think the bank's going to help you? They don't give a fuck about you. They don't care one bit. You are just a social security number, tax number, an ID number, whatever it is. That's all you are. You're just a number. But in a self-sustained community, you're more than that. You're a contribution. You're a key piece of that environment. What a great plan. What a great way to live. To feel needed. To feel part of something, to have some purpose greater than just supporting your boss to make more money so they can buy a second or third house, to be part of that bank that just will take away your house like that. They fill rocks, take away your car like that, put you on the street, no problem. They don't care. And the agenda is very, very clear. If you're not aware of it, you are probably one of those people that will be broke. You're probably one of those people that's going to be living in the streets. Because that shit is happening. That shit is going to come. It is going to get to a point, guys, where it's going to get worse and worse and worse. This looting, this rioting is the start. It is a warning shot. It is a warning shot to remind us that a different possibility exists. We can't fight against that shit because that shit is political. That shit is coming from outside sources that are overly manipulated. But if we move into smaller communities off the grid, where we're not accessible, where people don't even know where we are, you can do it in such a way that people don't even need to know that you're there. But one person puts the farm in the name, 150 people go live on it, out of sight, no trace of them, just ghosts. But you don't want to choose that. Why would you want to choose that? Why would you want to live in a better life? Now, let me ask you a question. Let's flip this around. If you were in a self-sustained community right now, living this life that I'm talking about, where you have no debt, you have all your food is taken care of. The education system is what you choose for it to be. You get to see your kids all the time. You get to see your wife all the time. You get 4 or 5 hours in a day where you're able just to do creatively whatever it is that you want. You're able to walk outside and just walk around the park. No masks, no vaccine mandates. Your body is your body. You get to choose whatever it is that you want to choose. What would make you choose any aspect of this current system, what would make you move into a house in the city with a mortgage, right? Working for a boss, working for a corporation, having to vote for some political party that are a bunch of fucking idiots that will steal the last fucking bit of clothing off your back if they could. In an environment policed by the most corrupt police force like in the world almost. What would make you choose that? Anything. What would make you choose any aspect of this current life if you were in a self-sustained community? And that's what I'm going to end with for now. Think about it, guys. Lots of love. We'll chat soon. Ciao.